Today we're going to talk about broken family and the cost of that for our LGBTQ kids. What is the cost? Our adult kids whose parents have broken with them. What does it cost your child when you reject them or withhold love, when you limit the relationship simply because you're not okay for some reason, whatever reason, with them being gay or lesbian or transgender or bisexual? It's a greater cost than you know, and today we're going to talk about that.
Would it be okay if I were to tell you that I am afraid someday? So I call you up and you call me down. Would it be okay?
Would that be okay? Sorry. Welcome. Again, my daughter does the music. I just am the host. Welcome back to the FreedHearts podcast. My name is Robert Cottrell, and I'm here full voice with the amazing
Susan Cottrell.
Were you waiting for more?
I'm just waiting till you stop so I can say Susan Cottrell.
Again, we're so glad you're here. Again, this is the second of two very special episodes for parents surrounding Mother's Day and with Father's Day coming up. And this is for parents who want to improve your relationship with your kids. Perhaps they're gay or lesbian or bisexual, transgender, or some other words that may not make sense to you that you've never heard before, and you're trying to understand. And in the midst of all this, your faith community may be telling you not to accept them as they are, or to put conditions around that acceptance. And your child is saying, wait, what? This is still me. This is still me. I'm your child. How can you just reject me like this? If you're new to this podcast, maybe your child or someone else who loves you sent this to you. And thank you. Thank you so much for your willingness to listen. And we're so glad you're here. I think you'll find some real life and wisdom in all of this. If you're a regular, either a parent or an LGBTQ person or someone else, we're glad you're here too. Let's get this started, yeah?
Yes, let's do it.
Again, last week we looked at broken family relationships and what it costs us as parents, the impact it is having on us as moms and dads. Today we're flipping the script and we're going to take a look at what the cost of a broken family relationship is to our LGBTQ kids. And Susan, this is sometimes really heavy for parents to hear.
Yes.
So what is our desire in all this?
Yeah.
What is our hope?
Yeah, we're doing this not to make parents feel bad. That's not the point. That doesn't help anything. But we're doing it to inspire you to another way to be so that you will bring about healing in the relationship. We want you to know what is going on so you can make a new choice.
Well, there's something really special that's way underplaying it, but about a parent-child relationship.
Yes, it's unique.
Yeah. And when something fractures that, the impact it has on us as parents is deep, and the impact it has on our children is more than we even know. And we don't want that.
Formative to them.
Yeah, we don't want, about who they are, what it means to be a mom and dad, how they should interact with their own children, what they deserve from a spouse, or partner, all kinds of things. And we don't want that to be the case. So the goal here is to bring a healing and love into this relationship out there. And so we're going to start at the beginning, yes? And we start at the beginning. If we talk about a tiny baby, we're going to talk about tiny babies. We don't have any grandchildren yet.
No.
But I think soon. Kids, I know you listen. This is not a pressure thing at all.
Yeah.
We are very excited to be grandparents, and we have a feeling they're going to start popping out, as they say.
In the next few years.
Sometime soon. So anyway, let's talk about tiny babies.
All right. So when your child was a tiny baby, do you remember that? How tiny they were? And you counted their fingers and toes, remember? And you couldn't get enough of them.
That's an amazing thing, because when a baby comes out, the mom is like all about the relationship, the heart, oh my gosh, let me nestle you close. The dads were counting fingers and toes. I think that says something. That's right.
What they're supposed to do.
Jeez. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's funny. That's very funny.
So what do we want for them?
Yeah. So when your child's a tiny baby, what do you want from them? What for them? I mean, what, as a parent, what do you dream for them? You wanted them to be happy, whole, moral, to marry somebody wonderful, to have financial security, to have peace of mind, to be a good person. These are all the normal desires we have for our children. Most of us would say we want our children's lives to be better than ours, like for their lives to be easier than ours was, or richer or happier. That is natural for a parent to desire for their children. And of course, you expect to be in their lives to the end. You want to, nobody says, yeah, I want to be in my kids' lives till they're 35 and then never see them again. You plan to be there and to love them and their grandchildren too, your grandchildren. So what do you do when all this goes sideways? To say, you're not my child anymore for whatever reason is terribly disruptive. It's terribly costly on both sides of the equation.
Just a little note here is that we have had LGBTQ people say to us, tell us stories about parents who have said, you are disowned, I disown you, who have sent black roses to the work, you're dead to me, and all those kind of severe things. And you would think, I would never do something like that. But I just don't underestimate the impact of rejection. The cold shoulder, the rejection of their quote choices, which it's not a choice.
The little comments.
Yeah.
The bringing out Bible verses.
That does hurt more and wound more than you know.
Yes. So, last week we talked about what the exorbitant cost is to parents for rejecting their children, which is a cost most parents don't seem to think through when they break with their children. They only realize the cost after they've paid it, when it's too late. But this week we'll talk about the cost to the kids, these adult kids whose parents have broken with them. What does it cost your child when you reject them? Or you may not use the word reject, but when you limit your relationship, we're okay with you unless you get in a relationship, or you can come over, but we don't want to meet your partner, or otherwise limiting your relationship. What's the cost to that? So I always think of the Shakespeare play, The Merchant of Venice. And in this play, this merchant has made a deal with somebody who was not able to pay, wanted credit or something. And so he said, if you can't pay this loan back, I'm going to take a pound of your flesh. And that's a terrible thing, but apparently he was under duress enough that he took that bargain. Well, he couldn't pay it back. And now this merchant wants the pound of flesh. And the guy's saying, no, you can't have it. So they're in court. And there's no way around it. This is a deal that was made. But then his lawyer says, hold on a minute. Okay, we agree you're entitled to the pound of flesh, but not one bit more. No blood, no tissue, no anything else. Now go ahead. And of course, the merchant can't do that. You can't separate the pound of flesh from all the other parts that would come with it, all the blood. And so that's pretty gruesome.
This is why we don't do this on video.
But the point is, that's like, that makes sense, that kind of defense. And when you think you're entitled to your pound of flesh.
What do you mean by that? As a parent, you mean?
Yeah, as a parent. So if your child is gay, bisexual, transgender, whatever, that you don't like, something that you want to reject, that aspect of them. And so you're thinking, well, that's my pound of flesh. I get to reject that part of them. And I understand. I don't agree with you. And your child, of course, doesn't agree with you that's a rejectable part of them. But let's just say, okay, for this moment, for the sake of argument, let's say you just can't embrace their gender identity or their romantic orientation. And so you feel entitled to that pound of flesh. My question for you is, what else are you extracting besides that pound of flesh? What bone, what blood, what tissues are you extracting with that pound of flesh? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do you understand what I was saying? Okay.
Yeah.
Because honestly, you're taking more from your child than you have any idea, and more than you have any right to take. So here's a sampling of what you're taking from them. And every LGBTQ person listening will say, oh yeah, plus this, plus this, plus this. So this is just a sampling. Okay, you're taking away that familial relationship. You're taking away their family. They always expected you in their lives as much as you expected to be in their lives. And you're taking that away. You're causing them deep stress, deep conflict, self-doubt. And you may say, well, they deserve it. No, that's not yours to take. You're giving them fear and anxiety. You're taking away their hope for a peaceful future, their vision for their future. You're taking away their optimism. You're stealing their love, their joy, their peace. You're dampening their optimism and jeopardizing their health, because all of these things have health implications. You're doing so much more than just disagreeing about their orientation or identity. You're making it impossible for them to please you and to be authentic to themselves. And so you're setting them up for ongoing internal conflict. These costs are inherent to this kind of break with your family, with your community.
And isn't this just the opposite of, you just talked about what we want for our kids when they're
Yes.
tiny. You know, would
Yes.
we have said in there, my desire for my child is to have incredible self-doubt and deep conflict and deep stress? And no.
Exactly.
And why? Why?
Yeah.
Because some conversation,
Because of an internal conversation that you find this part of them unacceptable.
Yeah.
And so for whatever reason, doesn't even matter. But you're taking so much more than you think. Now, they're going to have to do what they're going to have to do so that they can recover as much of their own health and vitality and self-worth as possible in spite of this fracture.
And if you're listening and you're part of the LGBTQ plus community, that's okay.
Yes.
You do what you have to do to care for yourself.
That's right. And it may mean to walk out and never look back. And that's often the very best choice for you compared to continuing to hear how disappointing you are and how bad you are. But parents, you're forcing your children to choose you or themselves because they can't have both in this equation. And that's a very high cost. Do you see why I say this is way above a parent's pay grade? So, and we hear from these people every day, and they're heartbroken by their family's rejection. All these things, depression, sadness, grief, stomach issues, self-doubt, anxiety,
self-harm,
self-harming
substance
behavior,
abuse,
risky
all kinds
behavior.
Of,
All of these things are a direct result, the natural result of rejection on such a grand scale as your parents rejecting you. And if you had experienced the same rejection from your parents, you'd have the same issues.
And that's interesting too, because maybe some of you have experienced that kind of rejection because of choices you made in life.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Not ever justifying that kind of rejection, but this is a rejection for who your child is at their very core.
Yeah. Not a choice.
Not a choice, yeah.
Yeah, the choice is to be authentic or to please you. Yeah. And that's not fair. And we've had people say, well, they're having all these issues because they're gay and they know it's wrong, but that's not true. And I'll tell you why it's not true. Because those who have been accepted don't have these issues. So it's the rejection, not the issues, that are causing these negative outcomes. Okay. So as I said, I talk to these people every single day. And when they say to me that their parents don't reject them.
And they've tried and
yeah. And they don't reject them and their partners wholly, exactly as they are. Do you know what we tell them? We tell them to move on, to let their parents go, to grieve the loss, because it is too costly to them to try to stay in a relationship which does not accept them and let them be okay as they are. Now, I'm always for working things out if you can. I'm always seeking the best way to work something out. But when parents won't budge and won't listen and won't talk about it productively, but only give their opinion again, then there's no reconciliation. And it's toxic for the child to stay in it. And it's codependent and all kinds of things that are harmful. So they have to find their way to wholeness. And that's what I tell them. Find your way to wholeness, which means not being subjected to the same tirades and condemnation and harshness again and again. Sorry, parents, but that's how it is. And most parents say, I don't want to be a burden to my kids. Haven't you ever said that? And they mean in the future they don't want to be a financial burden or a physical burden. And they don't want their kids to have to take care of them or worry about them. But if you withhold full love in relationship and you don't embrace them exactly as they are, you have become the biggest burden you could possibly be now and on into the future. You're a liability who is daily draining their emotional bank account. Let me make that really clear to you. You're a liability who is daily draining their emotional bank account. That's harsh, but it's true. And I would think you'd want to know. You put them in an impossible situation. You've created a dilemma they can't solve. They can't not be their orientation or identity. They can't not be that. And if they could have changed it, they would have changed it already. The only thing they can do is own it or deny it. And you're asking them to deny it so they'll be good enough to be in your life. Let that sink in. You've created an unsolvable situation, and then you wonder why they're upset with you. It'd be easier on them if they were trying to figure out where to put grandma with dementia than to deal with a family that willfully rejects in God's name.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
yeah, the family rejection is harsh enough, but then you add the faith part of it and convey the lie that you're speaking for God.
Yes.
And that makes the wound even deeper.
Yes. So I'm going to go deep with you for a minute here on me, that I've had run-ins with my kids. We've sometimes not seen eye to eye. And there's been one kind of running issue that we haven't quite been able to get our hands around. And I've been in deep prayer about it, asking for wisdom. And the Spirit made it very clear to me that I'm the one with the issue, that I'm the one who needs to change. And it's very hard because I can tell you this child is wrong, right? I mean, that's my perspective. And I advise people all the time. I listen to identify the source of issues all the time. And you probably have your own area of expertise where people listen to you and you solve problems. And so how could the problem be with you or with me? That's not likely. We're the parent. But I'm telling you it is. If we are fractured with our children, then somewhere we have failed to communicate our all-out, unconditional love for that child. And not with words, or not just with words, but with our whole being. So think of someone who knows how much you love them. Maybe it's another one of your children or your spouse or someone else. Our job is to make sure that estranged child feels that same love from us, which means we have to love them like that. But that's what a parent does. That's what a parent needs to do. And it's humbling, I'm telling you. I'm looking at my own plate here talking about this in my own situation with one of my children. I keep wanting them to understand me instead of me understanding them.
Yeah, something just came to mind for me here. What happens, and we hear this every now and then, it's not too often, but we hear every now and then that my child is being so mean to me now.
Yeah.
They've said the most hurtful things to me, and they're being mean. And I just had a sense there as you were talking about that where you said if we are fractured with our children, and we talked about this last week as well, that it is on us. It is on us as parents. And most of the things we hear about from parents about, well, now they're being so mean, or they won't this, or they said this, or that is often a result of, it comes after
that's a symptom of them not experiencing full out love.
Right. And that rejection can be direct and active. It can also be passive. It can be microaggressions. It could be all kinds of, like you said, you pull out a Bible verse and you say something like that. And
it can just be a look. It can just be not asking about their partner.
Yeah. Or a roll of the eyes, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
They can sense all of that.
Yeah, you can sense it when somebody feels not all the way included about you.
Yeah, and like we as kids, I mean, we all, I think, have memories, maybe especially when we were younger, before our own parents had their issues, but we have memories of what it feels like to be fully embraced and accepted like that. And so our kids know when we're holding something back. Our kids know when we have an issue with them. They pick up on it right away. I mean, Mike, kids are always, Dad, what's up? What's wrong? Something wrong? Right. They know. Right. They know.
Just like we know. I see somebody stiffen when I say what I do, and I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah. And this recent thing I'm talking about with my own child, I only actually saw because I was talking to someone else with a lot of wisdom who knows me well and could see what I couldn't see. And it was very humbling. And it's not easy to lay aside our rightness, our expertise, I'm the parent, of course I'm right. But I'm the parent is exactly why the ball is in our court to love well.
Yeah, that's really good. It's we tend to go with that. I'm the parent, I'm right. Yeah. Instead of I'm the parent, let me be the one to example, to display, to start with unconditional love above all else.
Yeah. And very often parents, they'll tell us, well, they pretended they were just friends and didn't tell us they're in a relationship. How could they lie? Well, think about it. Think about your response right now to them. Why do you think they didn't tell you? Think about things you didn't tell your parents because you knew better.
And would you have reacted the same way if they were straight kids? You know what I mean? Like
right. If they were straight, they wouldn't have had to hold back the relationship.
And my older brother, who, if he's listening, I'm going to call him out on this, but he used to, he would come home when he was in college and mom and dad would say, where you been? He said, library. And they would go, oh, okay, cool. And I was then driving down on campus on Ohio State University, and I saw this bar called The Library. I thought, oh, that's really good. And then that's where he was the whole time.
Right.
But the issues, yes. I don't know why that came up. But
because you say what you need to say sometimes for self-protection. Yeah. And I don't blame them at all. But the place to look is not, how could you not have told us? The place to look is, how could I have been unsafe enough, or you didn't know if I was safe enough that you didn't tell us?
That's good.
We learned with some Christian counseling, they said if your children are lying to you, then you're not safe enough for them. It's like, whoa, okay. And parents will say, well, I've told them 1,000 times. Okay, then maybe stop doing that. Maybe you do
take
something
1,001.
Different. Right. Yeah. If they haven't heard you or responded to you the way you wanted after 1,000 times, maybe try something different. Just saying here. So our job as people of faith and as parents is to love, overflowing love that feels like love. And people will say to us, they'll say, okay, love, I get it, but what else? No. If you really got love, you wouldn't be asking what else, because that's the step we keep wanting to jump over, but it's the only step there is.
Well, from a Christian faith perspective, they basically ask Jesus the same thing. All right, I get it. What else? And he goes, no, that's it.
No, that's it.
If you love, you keep all the other commands.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all you need to do.
Everything else fits under that.
And if you love, you know God. If you don't love, you don't know God.
That's right. That's what it says.
That's
1 John, I think, somewhere. Yeah.
So what do parents do now if they're in this situation? You had some wonderful steps last week. Do you have anything?
Yeah, I do.
How do you come back? How do you come back from this?
Yeah. So, number one, start by admitting to yourself all the ways you've been trying to fix, change, advise your child, and admit that it hasn't worked and that it's not going to work. Keep looking at that until you see it, like an optical illusion. You have to just keep with it until suddenly it emerges and you say, oh, I see it, until it breaks your heart. Let this be your own come to Jesus moment. We all sing the song, break our heart, God, for what breaks yours. Don't you think this is a heartbreaking thing, this fractured relationship? So look at that and see where your attempts to fix it have not worked. All right. After that, number two.
Yeah.
After that, when you've seen how your way hasn't worked, then you can say to your child, I don't want to fight with you. I apologize for hurting you, for not embracing you as you are. I was wrong. You don't have to add, I still think it's wrong. You don't have to add that. Let that go. Just say, I was wrong for how I've been with you. I want you in our lives. Let's have dinner, you and your partner.
And this is before, this doesn't have to be after you understand things, right?
No.
This is.
You may never understand their identity.
Despite the things you don't understand or the things you disagree with or the things that are spinning in your head. It's despite all of that.
How could he be attracted to a man? That's not your business. Or how could she be transgender? Not the, that's not yours to understand. It's just to embrace them and love them.
Well, and those are to withhold your love that makes it conditional. Again, whatever the questions are, as big and overwhelming as they seem, I'm going to say this again, but err on the side of love and trust God with all of that.
Yeah.
You'll never regret that.
Yeah.
And the answers will come when they come.
That you need, if you need them.
Yeah, that you need.
People will say, I just can't imagine him sleeping with another man. What are you doing imagining that?
Yeah, maybe you don't have to. Yeah.
Maybe, why are you imagining that? Yeah. So, okay.
So,
number 3.
Let's go back and do number 1, just to summary again. Number 2.
Okay.
So number 1 was?
Start by admitting to yourself all the ways you've been wrong.
Okay.
And just until you see it.
And then number 2?
And number 2 is then say to your child, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I apologize.
Okay, number 3?
And try to pull that relationship back together, try to have time together. And then number 3 is enjoy them as you would enjoy anyone else that you love. Ask how they're doing. Let them tell you about their lives. Be curious about them. Don't try to fix anything. If there's more to apologize for, then apologize for it and move forward based on who they are as they are, and let go entirely of who you think they should be. Because despite all your wisdom and expertise, which I'm sure you have, you don't really know who they should be. You don't. I don't for my kids either. So
what do you do with these deeply held religious beliefs that so often get in the way? Again, we talked about the one core belief, the love, and everything else falls under that, seems to be put aside for the sake of other beliefs.
Right.
But what about these religious beliefs?
Yeah, it's really simple. Shove those ones that are in the way aside and grab the one that matters, which is to love God and love others, and let everything else line up under that. Trust that truth. It's true. Jesus told us that. And Paul said, owe nothing to anyone except to love. So trust that. When our expression of our religious beliefs don't line up with rich, compassionate, overflowing love, then there's something wrong with that belief. Our beliefs, our theology, our faith teaching should make us more loving. If they make us less loving, there's something wrong with those beliefs.
Say that again.
Yeah, so our beliefs, our theology, our faith teaching should make us more loving. If they make us less loving, there's something wrong with them.
Wow, that's good.
It's really true, isn't it?
Sometimes when all of this, you work with parents and you work with LGBTQ and things just don't work out. I mean, if you're out there listening and you're part of the LGBTQ plus community, you may be experiencing this. So we're going to talk next week.
And let me just say, if you are that person, and this is like, holy smokes, this may be pulling up some really deep emotions for you. And I just encourage you to journal about it, grieve the loss, acknowledge and name the loss that it is that you've experienced, and journal about it and sit with it and experience the grief of it, because tears that fall soon wash away, but the tears that stay inside just stay and stay and stay. So let your grief go for all that this may have brought up for you, for loss and family loss. And it will be a good thing for you to grieve it and let it go.
And we'll actually talk about that next week. We're going to talk about what happens when there is no reconciliation.
Yes.
These broken relationships kind of stay
Yes.
broken. So when people don't change, we're going to talk about how to deal with dysfunctional family rejection, and we'll do that next week.
Yes.
If we can help, again, please reach out to us. We would love to hear from you.
Yes.
We have resources and supportive community for parents and chosen family community for LGBTQ and for advocates and allies. Just reach out to us. We have walked with parents through this. We've walked through with LGBTQ. And I will tell you that as we've walked through with parents, really tens of thousands of parents, there has never been one parent that has had a regret about reconnecting with their child.
Yes.
Not a single one said, I wish I would have rejected them.
Yep.
I want to go back to that. Not a single one.
Right.
So latch onto that. Latch onto that. And again, we love you. Reach out to us. Just come say hello at FreedHearts.org.
Yeah.
We're here for you. You have something else you want to?
You can't see the view that you'll get to from where you are. Mm. You have to make these leaps, this movement toward love, and then you'll see the view and you'll be like, oh my gosh, I had no idea what was available. Mm. Oh, I promise you.
We'll end with that. We love you. You are beloved.
We love you.
We'll talk to you next time.
Would it be okay if I were to tell you that I am afraid someday, so I call you up and you call me down? Would it be okay?
You've been listening to the Freed Hearts podcast. We have extensive resources and vibrant community for you at www.freedhearts.org. Just come say hello. And if you have questions or issues or comments about the podcast, things you'd like us to talk about, reach out to us at podcast@freedhearts.org. The music is provided by Hannah Cottrell, our daughter, the Grammy-nominated Saint Sinner, and you can find out more about her at heysaintsinner.com. Please share this, subscribe, and follow on your favorite platform, and thanks for listening.